Welcome everybody to Learn Mosaic Crochet and Knitting with Robyn, Chachula, and Marley Bird. My name is Dana. I'm the editor of Fave Crafts and I'll be emceeing today's class. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. This class is being recorded right now, so it will be available to you in about 24 hours. So if you're having a trouble keeping up, you want to rewatch and continue to learn again and again, we will be sending the recording to you tomorrow. So keep an eye out for an email from Zoom with the recording. If you have questions throughout the class, you can leave them in the chat in Zoom or the Q&A feature. I'll do my best to relay them to Marley. We'll all do our best, Marley and Robyn. We'll all do our best to answer as many questions as we can, but we got to keep within that 2-hour window. Any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A feature. And with that, thank you so much to Camp Colorwork for sponsoring today's class. Robyn and Marley are going to be talking at length about Camp Colorwork. And before then, I just want to talk a little bit more about Robyn and Marley. So thank you so much to both of you for teaching. Marley Bird and Robyn Chachula are two entrepreneurs who were brought together by their shared love of crochet. And through that partnership, a lifelong friendship blossomed. Their shared love of teaching others crochet has grown into a flourishing business partnership, Birds of a Feather Productions, that creates patterns and classes covering all aspects of knitting and crocheting. For more than 17 years, Marley and Robyn have been teaching people around the world how to knit and crochet via books, internet courses, television, and in person. With that, we want to welcome you both. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I feel super important now, Robyn.
Yay!
That's real. You're all down in person. Thanks for having us, everybody. Do we jump in now?
Yes, please. Yes,
okay.
Take it away.
I wasn't sure. Very cool. Very cool. There you go. Hey, everyone. So hello. I'm not sure if you are watching us on the grid view, I'm pretty sure, or speaker view, either one you want to do. I think I would do gallery view because then you can see all of us and see all the things here at once. I'm Marley Bird. Robyn Chachula is my partner in crime. She's right down there. She is, honestly, she's one of my best friends, and I am lucky enough to be able to work with her. And it's a joy not only when you get to work with somebody who is as wonderful as she is in person, but as a individual who is excited about the craft of crochet. She's amazing. And so it's nice to be able to team up with her and watch her as she teaches you guys, amazing things. And it's so much fun. So we love color. My favorite color is rainbow. I like to joke around about that. My kids are like, Mom, that's not a color. I'm like, no, it's because I love all the colors. If I try and do anything random, I inevitably will select a rainbow, always. And Camp Colorwork sort of started as a little nugget of that, and it grew into so much more. I'm going to let Robyn talk a little bit here as well. But this is a camp for knitting and crocheting. There's a little bit of Tunisian in there, but this is a by crafty camp. That's what we tag everything that we do, because we don't feel like you should have to just be a crocheter or just be a knitter. We can come together in a kumbaya moment and really do things together. So you see kumbaya Camp Colorwork? You see the connection there?
Yeah.
You like that? All right.
So
go ahead.
When Marley's talking about a class, camp, what we're really talking about is an online course. Mm-hmm. So what you find in Camp Colorwork is not only video content, but you find patterns, directions, worksheets, but you have a community. You get involved in this community where you get to ask questions and do things together. So that's why we call it camp, because you get to do all of these things in one. And we really created it so that there's this unique space where you get to talk about color and the multitudes of things that you can do with color. It doesn't matter if you're crocheting or knitting. We have it all, from the basics all the way down to the super oddball things that we like to throw in everything that we do. Just something to get you inspired, because a lot of times we find we all do this. You're knitting, you're crocheting, and you lose your mojo almost. Like, And the camp was created essentially for ourselves, basically, to re-inspire you, to reignite all that. Oh yeah, I want to make that. And that's where the camp kind of steps in.
Right.
Gives
The
you
great thing
tons of different things
about Camp Colorwork and it being housed in what we call the Marley Bird House is that it gives us the opportunity to present this information in a way that we feel is the best way to learn as far as a teacher-student environment. If you've noticed it all with Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it's all about the fast 3-minute, let's get in now and learn. We really want to make sure we're not just being like, oh, here's how you do the stitch and move on. We want you to understand, here's how you do the stitch. Here's why you would do it this way. Here's how you can change this up. So it's really geared for people who really are active into like the learning environment, not just quick churn and burn sort of place. So having everything curated in one place for courses, patterns, and the way we teach in the videos, it's really helpful. So that's the little snippet about Camp Colorwork. So we're going to talk more about Camp Colorwork, but today we are going to dive in a little bit with 2 specific skills that we do talk about in Camp Colorwork. They're actually entire sections, entire modules, but we wanted to show you, hey, let me show you how to do some mosaic crochet and mosaic knitting. And then we will then take you into the Marley Bird House so you can get the inside scoop on what it is that you could get through Camp Colorwork and what more you could learn. Does that sound good to everybody out there? Give me a thumbs up. I know that you're in the room. Give me a thumbs up. I want to see that. All right. So I am going to have Robyn talk to all of you out there first. If you are by Crafty, great. You can sit back, relax, watch both of us. If you are not by Crafty, great. Sit back, relax, watch both of us and enjoy. Like there's no reason you can't become by Crafty eventually if you want to. So
the whole idea today is to kind of give you like a brief glimpse of what it's like in the class. Mm-hmm. Obviously we're not live, but just so you can see, like we're going to dive into one aspect, looking at it in a knit way and looking at it in a crochet way. But you'll see when we do it in class, like in the online class in the camp, there's multiple ways of doing mosaic in knitting and in crochet. So this is just one way. So it's like 2 ways today, but like there's so many more. So we're just kind of giving you a little kiss.
Just a quick tidbit. You see that Jenny put in the chat, she put a link in there. That link is for you. If you go and put in your name and your email address, we will email you the patterns that we're going to use today. They are brand new patterns, like absolutely brand new. We will email those patterns to you and a coupon code for Camp Colorwork. So all of that is available to you. If you want to, do that right now, you can. You literally could sit back and relax and enjoy, and then have fun.
Do it later.
Yeah, but I just want you to know what that is. All right. So I'm gonna let you guys put it on Robyn solely, and I'm gonna mute myself. Robyn's like, finally, and we're let her now. Just a little quick sideway. What she's going to be talking about, we're going to talk about essentially in knitting as well, and see how we can use this same chart that she will be using today in crochet. We're going to use the same chart in knitting, so it is good information. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. So what we have today is we have ear warmers, because our thought process is we all are probably in that holiday season and needing little gifts. Well, here's your little gift, quick, easy little gift. And just like Marley said, we're going to be doing today in crochet this mosaic pattern, and we're going to do the exact same thing in knitting. We're going to use the exact same chart to do it in knitting. So it's a really great brief way of seeing, like, you find a really cool chart, like what could you do with it? Well, you could make an ear warmer. It's just kind of a little hint of it. So let's talk about mosaic charts. I'm going to move you over so you can see my hands, and I want to talk about what is a mosaic chart. In crochet, we're used to seeing this, right? You're used to seeing your stitch diagram. It tells literally what stitch to do. You don't even need the words. You go one by one and it tells you what to do. But in Mosaic, sometimes all you get is this. Is you're just getting boxes that are highlighted. So a lot of times in color, you're going to get a chart like this, and there's a lot of things that you can do with it. In our class, we talk about a million different things that you could do with any kind of chart, whether it's we just call them charted color charts, where you're just doing one color for each, or here, which is mosaic. So they are different. And what I like to do to start off with is, how can you tell that this is a mosaic chart, meaning you can do any of the techniques that we're doing today, versus like a color chart where you would have to carry multiple colors all at once. The way I find the easiest, there's two little hints here. First off, when you look at your first stitch, you're going to see that it's every single one changes, because what's happening here is that you are going to be starting with your color A, and you use your color A across, and then you come back in both knitting and crochet to come back to finish. Then you drop that color A, pick up color B, and use color B across and back. So like the first little hint that, okay, this is a mosaic chart, is this like checkerboard going up the side. Every other row, every other box is a different color. Like that's one hint that, wait a minute, this isn't a regular chart. Because if it was just a regular chart, you wouldn't need that. You would have just a pretty picture on the inside. You wouldn't have this kind of checkerboard on the outside. So like that's one little hint. The other, a little bit more complex hint is that color does not move in a singular fashion, meaning that if my color A is moving, it's moving every 3 stitches over. So like it's not going into this box. It doesn't move on a 45-degree angle. It goes, it's almost like you can think of it like moving your knight in chess, where you have to go up and over, up and over. And this is where the whole technique comes in. So that one is a little bit harder to see. A lot of times you'll find in the mosaic charts, you're going to find these long crosses or these boxes. But I usually tell people, I find this every other row is like when you're looking online at charts and stuff, that will tell you, okay, it's mosaic. Because you'll find in color work, you're going to have different techniques that you really like. So I'm going to show you one way to do mosaic, but there's a million different ways of using color in crochet or knitting. And some techniques you're going to love, some techniques you're going to be like, all right, this is not my favorite thing I've ever done. And it's nice to know that, right? It's nice to know right away. So you'd hate to grab a chart. You're like, you know what? I adore mosaic. I definitely want to do this. And it's not a mosaic chart, kind of like the big bummer. Now, what in the world do you do with this? Because you could have just this, but you want to get to this. So first things first, what I was saying before is that we're going to be using one color at a time. And the way mosaic works is it almost looks like the back side is stripes. I like to call this like the classic mosaic way. What we're going to be doing with our mosaic today is we're going to be using double crochets to drop down the color. It's not the only way of doing mosaic, but this is the way we're going to do it today. It's the most classic way that you see being done. You'll see in our camp that we have multiple more ways of doing it, but this is just one. Now, what happens is you will be using the same color on the way out. Let's say on your odd rows, and then on your even rows, you still use that same color. Because if you think about doing crochet, if you're working your way out and you drop a color, well, then that color is over here. You pick up and use the next color, and you go over here, but your color is over here to do your next. So all of these, the way they work out nice is you do 2 rows with one color every single time. Now, this looks great, but if I'm just doing one color, well, if I just look at that row 1, okay, so for us, we're going to be all doing single crochets. So, okay, I got a box. We're going to say it's a single crochet for color A. We're using the first one, but then we get to a spot that's supposed to be a color B spot. Well, what in the world's supposed to happen there? I have color A. In crochet, all that we're going to do is add some chains and skip it. So we just add some chains and we skip and we go to the next one where we're in our color, and we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet, a stitch all the way across. When you get to a different color, you skip it. So in Mosaic, you can kind of start making our wonderful stitch diagrams. So if we look at the first row, don't look at the rest, you'll get yourself further ahead that you want to be. That first row ends up just being single crochet, chain 2. You can do chain 1 or chain 2. It all depends on how tight your chains are. You can see them either way in different patterns. So whenever I want a color B, I'm going to do a chain. So I'm not going to put a stitch in there. Then I'm going to put a stitch for every box going across. The basic setup, I skipped ahead and did because it's pretty boring to watch me just do some single crochets and chains. So all I have done for us today is I have the row 1 done, because really the assignment comes when we get to the next row. So if you think about it, you go all the way out with these single crochets and chains and come all the way back. So every single box on your chart is 2 rows. That's the part that gets a little bit confusing, but once you start getting into it, you'll see really well. Now I'm going to switch over to my color B. When you have the next color, you're still just going to be doing single crochets. But when you get to this spot that should have, this just remember has a hole, but I want a color here. This is where we're going to be doing a double crochet. We're going to be dropping down our color to fill it in. And that's really the key to Mosaic, is that if you don't want the color, you're going to be doing a chain space. If there's stitches there, you just do a single crochet. When you don't want the color, you do chain spaces. And when you want the color, but there is no space to do it, this is where you do a double crochet. All right, we're going to go over this a million times. I just kind of we'll go back and forth, but let's look what it looks like on the chart. What happens is we wanted a single crochet and then a color to drop down. So where we have a single crochet and then a double crochet that goes down into our foundation chain, and then another chain. So on our little box here, it was color B, and then a color A. So it's single crochet, double crochet, chain. Trust me, it gets easier. Let's look at it as we're doing it. So again, I did row 1 and row 2 already. All that they were is single crochet, chain 2, 5 single crochets, and you just repeat that pattern across to kind of give us our starting baseline. What we're going to do from here is we're going to follow either the stitch diagram or we're going to follow the chart. I'll tell you, when I use these charts, I always kind of make my stitch diagrams on top. I love stitch diagrams. So you'll notice when you do anything with Marley and I, we go a little bit obsessive about stitch diagrams. We love them to kind of keep us in line of what we're doing. So the very next thing we're going to do is we need 2 color bees. So I know from my stitch diagram, it's a single crochet, double crochet. If I was looking on my chart, it's 2 color bees. The very first one is just doing a single crochet. Now I need to do a double crochet. But how do I do that? Where am I putting that? I want this to go down in our foundation chain, way down here. But I don't want to mess with this. Like I said, the back side should look like stripes. So we're not encasing those chain spaces. These chain spaces on our ear warmer are still there. What we're doing is we're going to be putting double crochets in front of the work. So this is the only quote unquote tricky thing to do. So we're doing a double crochet down in this foundation that is empty and lonely. We're going to yarn over. And what you want to do is you want to hold your yarn in the front so that you don't by chance do a spike stitch. So I insert my hook into the foundation chain that was skipped, yarn over, pull up a loop, and you can see it's almost like I'm working on top of the right side of my fabric because my yarn is in the front. So I'm going to just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that put my double crochet in the front of my work. If I turn it over, you can see that those loops have not been going around. They're just hanging out on the back. So the next thing that I saw on the chart is a color B, which means I need to chain 2. I'm going to skip the next stitch and go in to the next 3 single crochets. Because whether I'm looking at the stitch diagram or if I'm looking at the color chart, there's 3 color B, or in our case, white boxes. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3 single crochets. The next color is a color A, which means I need a chain. So I do not want color B there. And I'm going to skip. Now it's time for another double crochet because there's a color B box there. So now I'm going to do it again, where what happens is you will skip down to the foundation chain that was not gone into, and you'll insert your hook. Make sure when you have your yarn over is in the front of your work to yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Looking back at the chart, I have a color A or a gray box, so I need to chain 2. I will skip the next single crochet and put a single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Because I see 1, 2, 3 white boxes. Okay, gray box, which means that's a color A, so I'm going to chain 2. The next one is a white box or a color B box. It has the chain spaces, which means I need to do another double crochet. So I'm yarning over, inserting my hook into the skipped chain from the foundation, pull up a loop. Again, all of my work is in the front. My yarn is in the front. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then the last one is always just a single crochet. The first one and the last ones are just a single crochet in the color that you've done. So we've completed row 3. And if we look, you can see 2 white boxes, 2 color B. Then a color A, which we have a chain space. 3 white boxes, 3 single crochets. A color A, chain space. So we've gone really well. So we've completed row 3, but now we go back and read it backwards to complete row 4, because I need to get back to this side of my work so I can pick up my colorway and keep going. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. And now when we read across, it's the same thing. It's 2 white colors. So that means if I have 2 stitches, all I do is I'm going to put a single crochet. So if you have a stitch, you just do a single crochet. If you have no stitches, that's when you do the double crochets. Now I have a color A, which means I'm going to chain 2. Then I have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 stitches I can go into. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 single crochets. Then we'll chain 2 because I have another color. Now I want another B color. So I have a spot to put that in. It's a single crochet. Basically what happens is you can go on autopilot if you want on the way back. Basically, whenever there's a stitch, you're going to put a single crochet. Wherever there's a chain, you're going to put the same chain space. If it's a chain 2 or more, then 1, 2 at the end. I'm going to change my colors when I have 2 left on my hook. And now I'm ready to start row 5. So in crochet, it's a tall, right? You have 2 rows for every 1 box. So these do not look like perfect squares in real life. They end up looking like rectangles. So they look a little bit different. Let's do another row to kind of reinforce everything that we've been doing. And let's just look at the mosaic chart and then we can double check. In your pattern, I give you both the mosaic chart and I give you the stitch diagram. So you'll have everything plus written directions. So there's everything that you could want, but I want to make sure that, we're in class, so we get to test our skills a little bit. All right, so I'm going to put this to the side and let's just look at what we have. So we're starting, for me, the color A is this pink color. So I'm going to start row 5. And what I want is I want to have 1, 2, 3 colors of A. Well, there's a stitch here, so I can put a single crochet. Then there's a stitch here, so I can put a single crochet. But this was a space, which means I need to put a double crochet to get that color to drop down so that I can fill in this spot all with my color A. It'll end up filling up all of that spot with my color A. All right, so let's do it on our swatch. We're going to put a single crochet in the first 2. I have 2 boxes. I'm just going to do single crochet, single crochet. Now I'm ready for my first double crochet in the color A. It's the same way as working before, but we're not working in the foundation anywhere. We're working in these skipped stitches. You'll always have a skip stitch. So it's worked the same way. You'll yarn over, insert your hook into that skipped single crochet, making sure your yarn is in the front. You're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, your double crochets are always in the front of your work, and your back of your work just looks like stripes. If by chance you're holding your yarn in the back, it'll wrap around. So you'll notice it right away because it won't be a complete stripe across. You'll have a wrap there. All right, back to our chart. The next thing we see is a color B. That means I need to put a hole there. That means I need to put a chain there. The next one is a block of A, so I can put a single crochet there. Another white, which means I need to put a chain space there. I do not want color there. All right, so this would be chain 2, skip 1 stitch, go into the next single crochet, chain 2. And so I've just essentially accomplished white, gray, white, or A, B, A, B. So chain space, single crochet, chain space. The next thing I see is I want to stitch here, but there's a chain space here. So that means it's time for me to do another double crochet. The next one has a stitch on top of it, so I can put a single crochet. Now it's the same thing again with a double crochet. So again, those double crochets end up filling up 2 boxes because everything down here had been done already. All that color had been done already with our rows 1 and 2. All right, so let's look at these double crochets again. I'm going to be putting the double crochet in the next skipped single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the skipped single crochet. And then I very purposefully, you'll notice that like I end up holding it like this, but I very purposely make sure that my tail is in the front before I yarn over and pull through. So all of that work is in the front of my work to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. The next stitch, I'm just putting a single crochet. Now I'm going to do another double crochet. So I am inserting it into the next skipped single crochet. So insert my hook into my next skipped single crochet, making sure my tail is in the front, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So my double crochet is sitting on top of my work, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, if we take a look, you can see that our boxes are starting to form. So looking at our color, you have your color A coming down, which is this part coming down. Going across is this part here, and then coming back up is this part here. The little dot in the center will be that dot there. It takes a little while to start to see the pattern, but again, you'll notice I'm not covering. These right here are not being covered. I'm not covering these. We're not doing spike stitches. We're not covering these. They end up having straight across. Okay, let's finish this up. Again, we have BAB. It's the same as over here. So it's chain 2. Skip a stitch, do a single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 2. Skip a stitch. Now I want 1, 2, 3 color A's going across. That means I need to do another double crochet here. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the skip stitch, yarn over from the front, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then just put a single crochet in each of the stitches at the end of the row. So again, if we look at this to see what we're building, is this pink is coming down. I have the bottom half of this box already crocheted, the little dot here. The green is just this little green here, a little bit of the color B showing, and these just a little bit of the color B showing here. All right, to go back, you can again follow your chart. That's why there's a number 6 over here. You can follow your chart back, or you can use the hack that I do, is if there's a stitch, I do a single crochet. So I'm not even paying attention at all. There's a stitch, I put a single crochet in it. If you're looking at it, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If there's a chain, I'm putting a chain there. So I was doing chain 2, so I'm putting a chain 2 there. There's a stitch, I'm putting a single crochet. Chain 2, because there's a chain 2. So it's not going to all of a sudden change on you. Like the colors are not going to all of a sudden change it. You have to do something different on the way back when you're doing these classic crochet mosaic way of doing. That's why it's kind of, you can go on autopilot once you kind of see what you're doing. There's a chain space, I did a chain. There's a stitch, I'm doing a single crochet. Chain space, I'm doing a chain. Then I have 3 stitches, 1, 2, and then the last one, when I have 2 loops left on my hook, I'm changing my colors. And this is the great thing about Mosaic, why we all love it, is your color is already there for you. That's why you go out and back. So then you are not weaving in a ton of ends. They're all carried up one side. And now we can turn our work and do the next row. If we're looking at it on the stitch diagram, it's exactly what we just did. So we had 3 stitches in our color A. It was a single crochet, double. Then a chain 2, a single crochet. So these are great. I love my stitch diagrams. It tells me exactly what to do. The only problem with this is that I can't see the color. You might be better at seeing color, but I can't see the color on here. So these are great to tell me what stitches to do, but it's also nice to know where I'm going, because what we were doing is now you can kind of see the color of what it will end up being. Is you can kind of put the color on top of your stitch diagram, which I will absolutely get out my colors and color it in as I go. So then I can see that box. Like, yes, I see this box coming up and down to kind of visually see it. But it's really hard to see that color. That's why we like to kind of go making sure that skill-wise, if you can do both of these, if you can go back and forth, it makes your life, it's like another map, another road marking of seeing how it goes. It's just fantastic. All right, so we can keep going in this pattern to see it more, but I think you get the basic gist of it. If there is a stitch, you're going to do a single crochet. If there is a different color, you do a chain space. And then if there is a chain space below, that's where you have to drop and do a double crochet. The only other things I like to point out is in most of our mosaic charts, you'll always notice that when we're skipping one stitch, we're always doing 2 chains. So like if we skipped one stitch, we do 2 chains. If we are skipping 2 stitches, we're doing 3 chains. That's just so that your row doesn't pucker. We give you 1 extra chain in there.
Hey, Robyn, can I jump in with a question from the group?
Please.
All right. So one of the individuals here wants to know if they are left-handed, do they start on the left side of the chart?
Yeah, so I find that to be the easiest. My mom is left-handed, and the way that she likes to do it is to read your mosaic chart from here over and then come back. The key obviously is always make sure that your double crochets are on the right side of your work. Now, if you're doing mosaic and it also has shaping on one side, your shaping will be reversed because you're doing it backwards. It's kind of the backwards way of looking at it. But if you're doing just a rectangle, yeah, make it easier on yourself so that you are doing it in the same direction that you're going.
Fantastic. And then there's another question. There's a lovely person here who's already part of Camp Colorwork, and they want to know if these patterns will be available as lessons inside the Mosaic modules. And the answer is yes. As soon as we're done with this, we're going to pop those in there. So if you are already a member of Camp Colorwork, the 2 patterns that everybody is signing up that link for, there's a link, you guys. I will post it in the chat once again, real quick. You go to this link and you sign up to get not only the 2 patterns Robyn and I are talking about today, but the coupon code to get Camp Colorwork at a significant discount. It's all available in that one place, but the patterns will be put in there as well. So they are an additional 2 more patterns that will be inside Camp Colorwork. All right, that is so pretty. Anybody else have any questions for Robyn? Because this is, it's magical. There was somebody who commented that they knew there had to be a way to do mosaic. You didn't just have to go to the back loop. And I think that you and I agree that that is also one of the benefits of doing it in what we call the classic way.
Yes. Yep. There's no back loop. And you'll notice that when we talk about it in the course, we definitely go through what I call this, like the classic way, using the double crochets. But as we were saying, we go through it further. And real quick, I'll show you some of the other ways. Another way of doing mosaic is using those spike stitches. So you could absolutely use this exact same chart, but instead do spike stitches, and then your front and your back are going to look the same. Versus I was saying in our classic way of doing it, where they look like stripes on the back. So you can do it with spike stitches. We teach you how to do this in the course. Mm-hmm. Another way, what you were just mentioning, is going through only one loop so that you have another loop available for you. You don't have there's no chain spaces. You're just doing a stitch in each. But when you're doing it on the front, you're leaving these stitches open so that you have another place to put it. This is using your front and back loops on purpose kind of way of doing it. Again, also just another way of doing it.
Is that one there? Do you cut the yarn after each row for that one, or is that one still continuous?
No, I did this one continuous because I hate cutting my yarn.
I do too.
Can you do it? Absolutely. You can do it with one row. You just have a shorter stitch. Instead of the double crochet, you'd have a shorter stitch. One
of the reasons I'm asking, there is an individual who's asking, how do they do mosaic where it's more square, less rectangle? And this would be an example of one. I would say, and I'll let you answer the question on yours as well. I would say if you want it more square, you'd want to do more just the single crochets, and that would be more of the is it the inset? Is that what it's called? Also, my mind is drawing a blank.
Yeah. Overlay. But
overlay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Another way to get it to be a square is so you don't have to worry about it. If you do it in the round, when you work in the round, you don't have to worry about having your yarn on the wrong side. You could do just one row, but then obviously you're working in the round. And you could do any method. We also go through how to doing Tunisian in mosaic, which is, it's like if you cross knitting and crochet together. So like all of these other things that you can do with all the same chart. And that's just one section in our class. But with this, the great thing I like about ear warmers, and especially these because they look fancy, is it's just a really long swatch. So you get to play for as long as you want. In our case, I made it 20 inches long. And then all that this is you seam it. Essentially, you're going to fold your swatch lengthwise, fold it lengthwise, and it's almost like Pac-Man are kissing each other. And then you just seam through all 4 fabrics, essentially, because you have one for each side. And that's how you get the cute little twist in it. It seems very challenging, but it's not. You made one long rectangle, you hold it together like this, seam through it, and you get that cute little twist. So you could, make this any length if you wanted to make it longer or shorter. But it's just a really fun little project, no matter what you're doing.
It's very cool. People are giving you a lot of kudos, Robyn. They're saying, yes, I can finally do mosaic. A couple people are mentioning that they want to rewatch so that they can get the beginning done that you already have prepared, so that way they can jump in and follow along with you. Just a reminder to everybody, the pattern that she is following, both the charts, the stitch diagram and the chart and the written instructions are available for you. All you need to do is click that link that we have been adding all along. It takes you to the landing page to enter your information, and we will send you everything to your email. So it'll be the links to the knitting pattern, the crochet pattern, and you get an exclusive coupon code that we're doing just for all of you here at Prime, because we love all free crochet. We love all free knitting. We love the people at Prime, like Jenny and Dana, like I just love them. And so when they asked us to come and do this class, we were like, absolutely. And we will give all of your audience a killer deal. Because the information in this course is like way even beyond what you're getting right here with Robyn. And as you can see, I mean, Robyn's incredibly knowledgeable, and it's not just, hey, here's, put your hook here, create this double crochet. She's giving you very specifics of how you could take literally any chart. You could take a knitting chart, which we will talk about here in a minute, and turn it into a crochet mosaic chart by using these skills that she's talking about. One more time, Robyn, can you go over how they need to do the chain amount for the skip stitches, whether it's 2 chains, 3 chains, 4 chains? I just want to make sure they understand how that works.
Yeah. So I think that's the only oddball thing in all of this. Because all of these boxes are 1 for 1, right? You have 1 single crochet for 1 box. But when you have a different color, I'm telling you to put 2 chains. And the whole reason behind that is a lot of times when we're chaining, we're making it really, really tight. So we're adding another chain so that this back is not getting puckered on you. So it's laying nice and flat. You'll see lots of patterns. I mean, I have an entire crochet encyclopedia where I just have 1 chain for 1 stitch that I'm skipping. That's okay too. Either is okay. But we've more leaned into the convention of doing 2 chains. So 2 chains every time we're skipping a stitch, just so it just lays a little nice and flatter.
But that's not for each stitch. That's for the first one. For each additional stitch after that, it's just 1 chain.
Exactly. So what happens is in some of the patterns, not this one you will only skip 1 at a time. Some patterns you'll need to skip 2 stitches, and we'll tell you to do 3 chains on top. If you are skipping 3 stitches, we would tell you to do 4 chains on top.
So
again,
it's always
just to give you a little bit more length.
Yeah, it's always just 1 more chain to the number of stitches you're skipping. That makes it really easy for you to remember out there for sure. Here's a great one from Judith. She says, yes, reading charts is on my need to list. Robyn, can we go to your face and you can talk a little bit about Camp Colorwork and the charts instructions that they get in there? Because I want to make it really clear that, you know, one of the biggest things that we try and do as teachers overall, not just in Camp Colorwork, is really provide information in a way for a lot of different learning aspects. Some people are visual, some people are dyslexic, some people have auditory issues. So we really try to go through everything. Having said that, all of our videos are closed captioned as well. We go into all of it, but let's let Robyn talk a little bit about the crochet charts and diagrams.
Yeah. So Marley just ticked off all of the reasons why I do diagrams.
Sorry.
On everything. I have an audio processing disorder and I'm dyslexic. So for me, I need a visual, but I don't learn well by just seeing someone do it. I need to impart that information. That's why charts, diagrams, maps, all of that stuff clicks in my brain. And what we try to do for all of our students is give you tools. You may only seen the information you may only have seen, it doesn't matter if it's knitting or crochet, written, but we're going to give you a chart or a diagram or a layout, a static image for you to use because it may help you. we also give you all of the video content that you need. And like Marley was saying, closed caption for anybody that needs that. So you have all of these tools in your toolbox to use. Now, for me, I've been doing stitch diagrams since I started my career because my brain will not let me translate all of that gobbledygook. You've read a crochet pattern before, I'm sure, and SC in the DC, all of those just as gobbledygook to me. But seeing a single crochet in a double crochet in like a stick diagram form clicks in my brain. So we try to give you as many tools. You'll notice in the class, there's nothing that I teach that does not have a diagram. So even if you're not familiar with stitch diagrams, you're going to be joining on in that journey. This is the first thing that we look at, no matter if we're talking about a pattern, if we're talking about just a swatch or a technique, I go straight to that stitch diagram. Because in that stitch diagram, it gives you all of the keys that you want. Not only is it going to tell you if you're doing color, it's going to tell you what stitches you're doing. So you can immediately see, oh, wait, in your stitch key, that's a new stitch for me. I need to go make sure I'm understanding how that's done. It's showing you where it's going. There's so many keys along the way. It's the best, I look at it as it's giving you the roadmap of where you're going. So you have somewhere else to look at. Sure, you have the image that you can see of what it should look like when you're done, and you have directions, but having a stitch diagram gives you yet another tool to double check. Wait, did I totally understand how that increase was doing, or where exactly am I supposed to put that stitch? So we are a little bit obsessive, I would say, Marley, about stitch diagrams and charts.
I would agree. And just for those out there, can you just hold up the stitch diagram and then hold up the chart so that they can understand what you're talking about is what's one and the other?
Yeah, I think I need to go back over to my hands.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
People are saying you have a wonderful way of teaching. I absolutely agree, you guys, 110%.
So what I was saying is like all of like whenever we're looking at something, we look immediately at the symbol key because it'll tell you anything. What they will tell you every single stitch that you're doing. So you immediately can pull that out. It'll tell you if you're doing colors. Like it gives me that roadmap of everything that I need to know for this. Plus, it's just nice to know, like, oh yeah, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. The pattern says 5 single crochets. It just gives me another thing to make sure that I'm on the way to go, because we've all done projects where you lay down your project, you come back and you go, I don't know where I am.
Right.
But it's it gives you another tool to have. That's pretty much how we teach everything we teach. We try to give you in multiple different ways. And hopefully you notice while I was teaching of saying the same thing in a lot of different ways, because it clicks for everybody in a different way. And that's what Marley and I really try to do, is to give you as many different ways of looking at the same problem, same project, and what works for you. You'll also notice while we're doing everything in our course, we'll always talk about like, oh, you could do this instead, or you could do that instead. You'll see that with Marley quite a lot in just a few minutes here. Like, oh, you want to try this? Let's try this. That's the fun part about it, is so many different ways of thinking about things.
It's fantastic. And one of the awesome things about Camp Colorwork, you guys, is if for some reason the way I'm saying it or Robyn's saying it is not clicking quite away, we actually have a dedicated private Facebook group for just campers. So you can go in there and show your work, show off what you're doing. You can talk positively about us and all the things you're learning, or you can ask questions, be like, maybe I just don't quite understand something. And you just never know. There could be somebody else who says it just one little way different, that all of a sudden everything becomes clear. So having that private Camp Colorwork group is is vital. It's a very good tool for you to use, not only for the community support, which is fantastic, but to get extra help. All right, so with that, everybody say thank you to Robyn because she's amazing. And we're going to go back to Dana real quick, and she is going to just say a little something. And if you happen to need a bio break, now's the time. All right, Dana, all you.
I lost my unmute button for a second. All right, yes, like Marley said, now's a great time to take a break, grab a refill of a beverage if you need. Typically in our intermissions, I talk about our upcoming classes. Right now, we don't have any in the next couple of weeks. We're taking a break for Thanksgiving, for the holiday. In December, we will have 2 classes. One of them will be on December 6th, and that is a Crochet Quickies class with Marley. And we have another one on December 13th that is a sewing class with Rebecca George. Those will be published at favecrafts.eventbrite.com, and I will drop that link in the chat. Plus, you'll get that link in our recap email tomorrow. So keep an eye on our Eventbrite page and sign up for those classes when they are available. In the meantime, something that we offer to everybody who signs up for our Fave Craft Studio Live classes is this special offer from our digital magazines. We've got I Like Crochet and I Like Knitting, so knitters and crocheters in today's class. You can get access to our digital magazine, an introductory offer for just $5. Our digital magazine publishes 6 times a year, and when you sign up, you get access to all of the back issues as well. So every previously published pattern is yours. We have special collections that we release seasonally, and again, those 6 digital issues. If you go to ilikecrochet.com/colorwork22 or ilikeknitting.com/colorwork22, you can sign up if you are a new member for just that $5 for the annual subscription. So sign up for Camp Colorwork and our magazine. Sign up for all of the things today as a thank you for joining today's class. So
that's so cute.
I'm going to stop the share and I'll turn it back over to you guys. Hopefully everyone had a long enough break to get their bio break in. Thanks,
I love
Marley.
it. All right. Okay. Hello, knitters and my bi crafty individuals. I'm so happy you are here. I absolutely love Mosaic Crochet just about as much as I love stranded colorwork. I think the stranded colorwork is a little bit edge on it, but Mosaic Crochet for me, knitting is so much fun. I can't say crochet because I have crochet on the mind. So knitting, I love Mosaic knitting. I love stranded colorwork knitting. It is so much fun. Just a quick reminder, you can get the pattern of what we're going to be talking about today. Just so you, it's really, I mean, it's a pattern, but it's so easy, guys. But the charts, the pattern for what I'm doing and what Robyn just did is available on that link. I just posted it in the chat. You can get everything downloaded to or sent to you via your email. Today, we're going to take a look at the same chart that Robyn was looking at during the crochet version of all of this, that little square chart. Because the great thing about Mosaic Crochet and Mosaic Knitting is you can use the same chart diagrams, not the stitch diagram, this the chart, you know what, let's just take a look down here. Let's go down to my hands, Nina, and you'll see what I mean. So I have printed off a slightly different rendition of the same chart stitch pattern that Robyn was doing. So I could use this and turn this into a crochet mosaic piece, or I can use this as a knit mosaic piece. Totally up to me, whatever direction I want to go. Let's take a peek at this and just kind of let's put some pen to paper and say what's going on, because this, I printed it off without any key or anything like that on purpose so that we can kind of take a peek at this. Now, usually most charts, as you're looking at them, they are showing you the face of the piece, the right side of the piece. So as we are looking this, we are looking at the right side of the piece. But the other thing we have to notice is that we have numbers on both ends of the same row. That lets us know that not only are we going to read this from right to left, but we're going to read it from left to right, the exact same row. Okay. There are ways to do mosaic charts where you double up the same row. Like we showed this row as 2 rows on a chart. We're going to talk about that. But this is the first thing to notice on this mosaic chart is we're going to read this across 23 stitches for row 1, turn our work, and across 23 stitches for row 2. Okay. What you don't see on this chart is the setup row. The setup row is, it would actually be this opposite color because that's a slip stitch right there. And how do I know that? Because I can see over here that I am going to work with white on this row, blue on this row, white on this row, blue on this row, or you call it color B, color A, color B, color A, however you want to do it. So as I'm looking across row 1 and I'm using white all the way through the 5th stitch, I can see on the 6th stitch, all of a sudden it's blue. Well, I know I'm not doing stranded color work. So that means that I'm going to be slipping a stitch, and that stitch should be blue, which means the setup row is most likely completed and it's already done in blue. I'm going to put blue, whatever the setup row is. It's already done. Does that make sense? So as we're working across our stitches and we slip stitch number 6, it's going to be blue. Great. Then we work across through stitch 11, slip number 12, which is blue, so on and so forth, all the way to the end. Everybody with me so far? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. I want to make sure that we're all together here. All right. As we are working through these rows, did you catch the second clue that I just gave you? How do you know what color you're working on for each row? It tells you right here at the start. It gives you the colors in the chart by saying, okay, here at the beginning, we're going to start off with white because the very first stitch is white. Very first stitch is blue. Very first stitch is white. So that lets you know that's going to be your yarn in your hand. You're working across the row. Anything that is not that color, that's going to be a slip stitch. Okay, that's going to be a slip stitch. If this is your own chart and you want to, write it up, you could be like, okay, I'm slipping that one. I'm slipping that one. I'm slipping that one. This one, I'm using blue. Oh, there's white. I'm going to slip that one. Blue. I'm slipping that one. Slipping that one. Slipping that one. Everybody with me on that part? Yeah? Everybody type mosaic if you're with me on that part. I want to make sure. The setup row, just so you guys know, I usually will call that color A just because in my own mind, I call it color A, but it could be whatever color the designer has it be. Essentially, it's whatever color is going to be slipped once you start working in your pattern. Okay, awesome. You guys are doing fantastic so far. All right, so we know what color. We know we have slip stitches, and we know we're working each row back and forth. But when we're dealing with these slip stitches, we have to be conscientious of with yarn in back and with yarn in front. Slip, slip. And what does that mean? Okay, well, let's think about this real quickly. If we have a project and we're working across and we're going to slip this stitch, if this is the right side of our fabric and I slip that stitch that I can come over here, I'm going to have a float, right? I'm going to have a float. I want to make sure that float is always on the wrong side. So rather than thinking yarn in front and yarn in back, because like Robyn, I get a little bit mixed up in the goggly goop of all of this, I say to myself, okay, I'm slipping this. I want to make sure that my yarn that I'm working with is always on the right side. So if I have the right side facing me as I'm working across, as I slip this, my yarn is going to be in back, right? Did I say the right side? I meant the wrong side. I want the right side facing me. I'm working across. I want the yarn in back. I want it on the wrong side. If I'm working on this side, which is the wrong side, and I'm working across and I'm going to slip this stitch, if I slip it with my yarn in back, that's going to put my float on the right side, and I don't want that. So I want my yarn in front. So what confuses people usually is they'll think, oh, in back of the work, in front of the work, meaning like the actual right side, wrong side. And what they really mean is as it's facing you. So as you're working across, yarn in back, it's, oh, I'm going to work with the yarn in back. As I'm working across, yarn in front, I'm going to work with the yarn in front. This is not referring to right side, wrong side. It's literally talking about the yarn in front of your work or in back of your work as you're working that stitch. Everybody got me so far? Let's do hands again. Let's do thumbs up. If you got me so far, let's do thumbs up. I love the interaction. You guys are doing great. So we have with yarn in back, yarn in front. Don't overthink it. Literally, as you're working across row 1, we're going to call that the right side. So as I come to stitch number 6 and I go to slip that, is my yarn going to be in front or my yarn going to be in back? If I'm on my right side and I'm slipping stitch number 6 and I'm looking at my right side, yes, Barb Johnson, I want that in back. I want it in back for number 12. I want it in back for number 18. But now I'm on row 2. So I've turned my work. I'm now on my wrong side. I'm coming across and I'm going to slip 18, coming back. Do I want it in back or do I want it in front? I know you guys got this. Don't be shy. There you go. Look at that, Diane. Perfect. I want it in front because I want it in front of the work that's facing me, not referring to right side, back side. Cool. You guys are spectacular. You're doing amazing. So we know we're going to read this way and this way when it's presented like this. We know that if we're working, the yarn work, the color we're working with shows up as the first stitch of our row. So we know whatever the opposite color is of that row, we know we're going to slip. We also know we're going to slip with yarn in back and yarn in front. These are key things. These are spectacular. Now, here's the next question. Am I working in stockinette stitch? Or am I working in garter stitch? It's kind of a trick question because it really could be either one. I could tell you that I could just call this garter. And we could say that every single row is just knit, every one. That we aren't going to like knit down and purl back. Okay, we could do this in garter stitch. Or we could do this in stockinette. We could do either way. We could read this chart as it is either way. However, if we do stockinette, because we all know if we do stockinette and we have these like border stitches down here that are not in like garter stitch or whatever, they're gonna roll on us. So you do have to be aware of that. But that's the one caveat to this is we could read this as a garter stitch pattern or a stockinette pattern. Either one will work. Oh, what's going on? Okay, cool. All right. It's not me. I was just making sure it says your phone. I was like, what did I do? Okay. You guys got this so far? Looking good? All right. So this is one form of chart that we could do. This is the exact same chart that Robyn was talking. This is an extra repeat, right? That's the chart she was using. So we have an extra repeat here. I have extra border stitches here, but let's take a peek. Exact same stitch pattern. Exact same stitch pattern. But what have we done here? This one is just like this one, only this one already has the V's put into place for us, right? Awesome. We don't have to think about that. It's already done. We're like spectacular. We don't have to worry about this. The great way is you can still use this for crochet, you guys, because you can think of those slip stitches. Those are the ones that's going to be, those are what's drops down. You can work through. I will tell you, for those of you who are by crafty, looking at the knit charts or diagrams, these are not diagrams, these are charts. I get confused all the time. If you're looking at the charts, I would lean towards doing this and converting this to crochet versus this, even so much as just going here and just widening those out and then drawing on it like what Robyn did. I find that easier.
Agreed.
But you can
totally agree, Marley. Yeah. Because
so
those V's easily could be chains. You're doing the crochet, but it's kind of nice to make your own cheat sheet.
Absolutely. All right, so this is this. I'm going to show you another one. All the same thing. This is this with more detail in that. Let's move. I'm going to move these aside so we don't have these over here, okay? This here, okay, now one row is just one row because row 2 is the next row up. Can you see the difference there? Everybody see the difference there? Give me a thumbs up. We still have 24 rows showing. It's just now each row we're actually representing the 2 instead of one row representing 2. Perfect. You guys understand that? Great. But the thing to take away here is now we have great more detail here because now we have the introduction of actual purl stitches. So we can look at this and no longer do we wonder if it's garter or stockinette, right? This is telling us very precisely, okay, when we use this white, we're going to do stockinette all the way down. And for row 2, we're going to do garter stitch, those 2 dots, because a purl on the wrong side is a knit, right? So we're going to knit those 2. Why is that showing up purl? I'm going to fix that. I don't know why those are both showing up purl. I was just going to show that. That should be knit. The wrong side right there should say knit. I have no idea why they both say purl. You get what I'm trying to say here. So we're going to knit those 2, and then we'll purl across. Slip with our yarn in front, purl in front, purl in front, purl, and then knit 2. So it's going to give us a garter stitch on our edge. The blue, we'll knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit. Turn our work. Again, knit 2, slip 1. Now we're going to work in garter stitch. So we're going to knit those 5, slip 1, knit 5, slip 1, knit 5, slip 1, knit 2. You see the difference here? So now you're going to have some stockinette separated with some garter stitch whenever you're using that blue color. Again, you would start off with a setup row, right? And we know the setup row color because it's the first color that is slipped when we do 1 and 2. So as you're looking at this, we have stockinette and then garter stitch, and then stockinette and then garter stitch. Pretty cool. Do you have to slip purlwise? I do. I always slip as if to purl. Unless the pattern tells you otherwise, always slip as if to purl. Valerie, the dot is a purl, right? It's a purl as you're looking at it. I just said that I just caught this. That is supposed to, I don't know why that adjusted that. That should say on the wrong side, it's a knit. I will fix that, guys. I have no idea why it did that. I mean, I don't understand why it did that. Anyways, on the wrong side, it's a knit. So you will be knitting across. Again, I like to think about things like, let's not overthink things, right? With the same idea of the slip within front, slip within back. To me, I would just be like, hey, every time I'm using my blue color, and I'm calling it blue because the color of the squares are blue, I'm just going to put a G there, and I'd be like, oh, those are always garter stitch. Just remember, those are always garter stitch. And then for me, because I like to have big visuals, I would be like, okay, after those first 2 stitches, I'm going to place a marker. And before the last 2 stitches, I'm going to place a marker. Anybody know why I'm going to place a marker? Other than the fact that I love markers. I use markers all the time. You guys with me? All right. So for me, I like to have visual cues. For me, a marker is either like a stop, like something needs to happen here, you need to make a change, or it's a place that I need to count colors. Okay. So I would remember that as I come to the marker, I need to knit. As I come to the marker, I need to knit. As I come to the marker and I pass that marker at the end, I need to knit. As I come to the marker and I come to the end, I need to knit. Does that make sense? It just reminds me that the first 2 and the last 2 stitches are always knits. So Hilda is saying, I normally knit stockinette on both rows. That way the second is like a purl stitch on the right side of my project. It's really nice. Yes, so stockinette. Yep, absolutely. All right, you guys ready for another sample of the same pattern, just a different way to look at it? All right, here we go. Look, it did the same thing over here. We're going to fix this real quick. This is knit. I will tweak that.
Hey, Marley, if you want to put it on the blue dot too.
Oh,
they did
thank
the same
you.
Thing.
What the heck? How many times have I looked at this, Robyn?
I don't know. And it's just funny because that just gets put out immediately in Stitch Fiddle.
I know. Yeah. All right, here we are. Same pattern. What's the difference here? Anybody see anything? There's actually a specific symbol here for slip with yarn in front. A specific symbol for slip with yarn in front. All this is for people who need that extra reminder. Maybe they didn't take the Marley Bird class that they got the big tip of, hey, just think about it. You always want it on your wrong side. You'll see on the wrong side rows, it's a V with a line underneath it. And that's just to remind you, hey, you're going to slip that with your yarn in front. That's all that is. That's the only difference between this one and this one. Cool? All right, let's take a peek at this. So we've looked at the charts. Important factor. You might be like, I came here for a Mosaic class and she just keeps lecturing at me about charts. Well, the charts are really important in Mosaic because very seldom do you actually get like written instructions for Mosaic. Mosaic and stranded knitting, both of those, you usually get charts that you need to follow. So you need to understand the different types of charts that you might be getting in the world. And so it's important to understand this. All right, what I've done here, I have worked through one full repeat of this chart. So I'm getting ready to start row 13, which is row 1. So if you want to grab your yarn or your needles real quick, go ahead and cast on 23 stitches and just knit. So if you use a long tail cast on, knit 1 row and you'll be ready for row 1. So while we're doing that, I'm going to come over here and just see, do any of you have any questions so far while you are starting to just get this cast on? Because I know some of you wanted to work along. And this, I mean, this is real easy. Casting on 23 and just knitting 1 row, that shouldn't take you but just a second. Are the charts the same for flat and in the round? That's a very good question. So in the round, instead of having row 2 over here, we would have row 2 over here. So in theory, yes, it's the same chart, except our row 2s, instead of over here, they would be over here. Okay. And because this has the written out of the purls, you would then in the round, in order to get that garter stitch, you would have to purl those because you'd be on the right side. You'd be purling those because all charts are giving you what the charted visual representation is of the right side of your fabric. You with me so far? Pretty cool, right? Like this is fun stuff. There's so many things you can do. So many things you can do. I'm going to show you just this bit as you guys are getting ready. Don't worry, this isn't like too extreme. This was my first attempt at the chart. And I will tell you guys, I was at Disney World and I'm like, I can knit in between rides. I want to show you something. One is not like the other. I started like I doubled up in things here and then I messed up going up. Like I was like, what did I do? So this is my fair warning of when you're doing these charts, do what you can to kind of keep track of where you are as you're going along. And what you will notice in the pattern, I gave you the link to the stitch fiddle where you can actually use the progress tracker as you work along and it will highlight the rows for you. All you need to do is download the pattern, the charts to your own stitch fiddle account, and you can use the progress tracker, which essentially just highlights each row as you go. So you can follow along with that without any issues. All right, I feel like a lot of you are ready to go and jump in. I do have markers here so I can show you guys the markers. I actually have one of the videos, the extra videos in Camp Color Work is how to make these really simple stitch markers that are just so important and they're so extremely useful and simple to make. If you're looking for quick projects for the holidays for somebody that is a knitter or crocheter, stitch markers are great to use. All right, so what I have here, you guys, I have 23 stitches. I have 2 stitches and a marker. Then I have all my stitches in between, marker and 2 stitches. So this is what I have right here. This full chart, this is 2 repeats of this chart, right? I could have just given you just this, but for me, guys, honestly, being able to see a full repeat of all of the stitch and row repeat is so helpful. So that's why we did this whole thing. So even though I'm getting ready to start row 13, it's really a repeat of row 1. So that's where it's helpful that I have 1 full row done and we can jump into row 1. Now, after having told you that all of this, like these are garter stitch, so on and so forth, could you do this all in stockinette? Who wants to answer that? Could you do all of this in stockinette instead of garter stitch? Yes, you could, Barb. Could you do all of this in garter stitch and have no stockinette? I'm waiting. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yes, yes, you could. And we know that because we talked about that on the very first chart we talked about, right? Where it could be knit in garter stitch or stockinette. It could be either one. All right, so I've knit 2 stitches. I've come to my marker. I'm going to set this aside, you guys, so it's not disrupting the view, but you can follow along with your own chart. Knit 2 stitches, move my marker. So I am going to knit across 3 stitches. So I'm just knitting 1, 2, 3, and I'm coming to my slip stitch. This is the crux of all mosaic stitches, right? You're slipping stitches and you're carrying them beyond the row that they were worked. You're carrying that color up extended rows. That's the point of a slip stitch. When you slip stitches, I'm looking at the right side of my fabric, so I know my yarn is going to be in back, right? Because I want my float to be in on the wrong side. I'm going to come to the next stitch, go into it like you're going to purl, and just slip it off right over to your right hand needle. That is it. Go to the next stitch and we're going to knit 2. Now I will tell you, as we go to the next stitch, your yarn is going to go behind, right? With yarn and back behind that slip stitch. Make sure you're not pulling that too tight because that is a float and you don't want to have it like so super tight that everything is bunched up. Just nice and relaxed. You want your stitches to be as evenly spaced on your needle as if you hadn't slipped the stitch, as if you had worked it. Okay, so the float is still there. You just, it's real simple. So now we knit 2 and we're at the end of our repeat. If I wanted to put a marker there, so that way I could have like, okay, I'm at the end of my repeat here. So I know I'm back to the start of my repeat. I could do that. If somebody gives you just like one little repeat section of this, I highly recommend dividing them up with stitch markers. All right, as long as they're not crossing over into another area, we have to move the stitch marker. Adding the stitch marker there, dividing up your repeats is incredibly helpful if you don't have something that's a full piece like this. So I'll add that there just because, but I can keep on reading. I know I'm going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm to my next slip stitch. There it is. I'm going to put my yarn in back, go in as if to purl, and slip it. And then I'm at knit 2. That puts me at the end of my repeat. I'll go ahead and add that marker there just so we can have it. Let me get some more yarn. Just a heads up, you guys, the yarn that we linked to in this pattern, it's the Swish DK. It's amazing. We linked to it on WeCrochet, which is the same owner of Knit Picks, and it's on sale right now. It's on sale. Just a heads up, if you're looking to pinch those pennies for the holiday season, this is a great time to take advantage of those sales. All right, so 1, 2, and 3, yarn in back, go in as if to purl, slip it off. 1, 2, and that's at the end of my repeat. And now you're like, what is going on? There's one more stitch. Yeah, for symmetry, guys. So you'll notice the repeat is 6 plus 1, and that does not include my border stitches. So it's 6 plus 1 stitch for symmetry. So as you look down here, you have 6, you have 6, you have 6, and then that one row right there, that's your symmetry row. Okay. So we know this one last stitch is just a knit. Slip our marker, and I knit the last 2 because I'm keeping these in garter stitch. Turn my work. Because I already know that my yellow in this case is represented by the white in my project, I know I'm keeping this in stockinette, but I also know outside of these markers, I want garter stitch, right? Garter stitch is knitting every row, everybody. Slip my marker. Here's the best part about working back. You ready? If it's the same color as the yarn I'm working with, I will purl it. If it's the color of the other yarn, I slip it. So I don't even look at my pattern as I'm working back, you guys. I literally just pay attention to the color of the yarn. If the stitch is the same color as the yarn I'm working with, I purl it because I'm doing stockinette for the body. If it's not the same color, I slip it. again, my yarn is in front because I want it to the wrong side. And then I just carry on purling across until I get to my marker for my garter stitch border. It's actually quite easy just to purl across and slip because your yarn's already in the right place. I think it's trickier to do the garter stitch because you have to move your yarn to the front in order to slip. So that's the back of my work. That's the front of my work. And all we've done here is we've just extended up that gray stitch past those 2 rows of yellow. And so we're going to get mosaic stitches now. So now we're moving on to row 2. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing? So just a quick note here. There's a message, somebody saying that they didn't get the email. If there's a chance that you have ever signed up for one of my newsletters and then canceled that subscription, it could be that I can't send you an email. If that's the case, if you just pop us an email at contact@marleybird.com, we'll get you situated without any problem. We have an entire customer service team that helps us out with all of this, and they're a big part of the Marley Bird House, so they will know what you're talking about. All right, here we go. So we are on row 3. Everybody with me here on row 3. Did you explain how to start the second color? Luis, we are there. That's where we are, my friends. All right, so we're on row 3. I literally dropped the color I was working on and I picked up my new color. Ta-da! That's it. That's really how easy it is. Don't worry about twisting the colors together. You can keep them consistent if you want. I am not worried about it. It does not, everything looks just fine. You drop the color you were using, pick up the color you're going to use. That's it. I knit 2 stitches, slip my marker. I'm on row 3. I see I'm going to slip the first one. Then I knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Convenient. I know I'm correct because I have my marker there. Just a little side note, because we did just talk about knitting with the color that you, oh, guys, I'm losing my mind. I should be using gray. Robyn, where are you? Like, what am I doing here? I should be using gray. Luis, I got distracted. Did you see that? I got cocky, Luis. Don't do that. Drop the yellow. Pick up the gray. Ta-da! There we are. Okay. All right, so we're going to knit 2. Trying to answer all the questions and do all this. Slip 1. Now we knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're at your marker. You're good to go. And again, this is one of those, because we're on our first pass across, the whole knit the color, that's in your hand with the same stitch, that doesn't work when you're on the right side rows. It only works on the wrong side rows. Slip the stitch, knit 5. Slip my marker, slip my stitch, knit 5. I'm at my marker to finish my repeat. I'm at my symmetry stitch essentially, and I know I slip it. Now here's my marker for my garter stitch, and I know I knit 2. Got that? Okay, so this is our first time that we're going to be going back and we're doing a garter stitch row. Nothing scary about it. Garter stitch is where you knit all the row, with the exception of where we have those slip stitches. We want to make sure we slip those with yarn in front.
Before you turn, Marley, can we just ooh and ah over how amazing it looks? Because you got the 2 different textures going on, plus all the colors.
Yeah, I love this. You know why I chose these colors? They're the colors of my son's school. So this will be perfect to wear at track season. I love it. Pretty cool. I really like the combination of the garter stitch and the stockinette. I think it's a fun thing to do.
It's
a fun
awesome
thing to do. All right, so here we go. I'm going to turn. We know we aren't changing colors because there's no yarn down there waiting for us, right? Like we have our color at the other end waiting for us. We start off with our knit 2. Move my marker. Now we're on our wrong side row. Can I use my little trick of just slipping the opposite color because I'm on the wrong side? Barbara, I know you're going to be the one to answer, Barbara. Yes, Barb. There you go. So we're going to bring our yarn in front. Bring our yarn in front. So I brought it between my needles to the front. Slip. Move my marker. Bring my yarn between my needles back to the back because I'm going to knit. Remember, I'm doing garter stitch. So I will knit all my gray. Came to a yellow, move my yarn between my needles to the front, go in as if to purl and slip, move my yarn between my needles to the back, slip my marker, and knit the gray. Yarn to the front, slip, put my yarn back to the back, and knit. Great thing about Mosaic, guys, it allows you to do all these beautiful colorwork stitch patterns without a bunch of strands and having to wrangle 2 colors at the same time on the same row. How are we doing? Looking good, right? Easy peasy. You guys can do this. Like that's it, y'all. You could do this entire chart with everything I just showed you. And the great thing about this ear warmer pattern is I gave you the lengths needed for a bunch of different sizes. So, I kept it to where it was always this many stitches wide. But if you wanted to shrink this down, how would you shrink this down? Essentially, we know that this stitch here, that row of stitches, we know that is, I'm going to like our symmetry. I'm going to put it our sim. All right. That's our symmetry. So we have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the end of a repeat. So if we wanted to eliminate one full repeat, essentially just eliminate all the stitches, all those 6 stitches. Think about squishing this back and you have everything to go. Does that make sense? So you could have a more narrow piece. As far as length, for me, you'll see that I put on there that you should end after a row 2. So that gives you, you do a full repeat and then you would do 1 and 2. And then you would go to that color you started with, you would knit a row and then bind off. And then just like Robyn said, you just piece them together like this. You take them longwise, and you pinch them like that. And you come up and you just fit them together like that.
I think you pinch with right sides facing. It's in the pattern.
I'm sorry. You do. I wasn't paying attention to right side or wrong side. I was just the shape.
It's just one of those little things that's in the pattern.
Right sides.
Speaking of the pattern, so I think everybody has clicked the link in the chat to get the free pattern. You'll notice when you get your email, there's 2 links. One says knit pattern, click that for the knit pattern. One says crochet pattern, click the link there. What we have is taking you into a Google Doc. So it's not a PDF, it's a Google Doc. So literally, which
you can save into a PDF.
You can save into anything you want. Mm-hmm. And right after class is done, Marley will do the very minor update on changing that from a knit to a purl. And it'll be immediately there. So you don't need any new link. It'll be already ready for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything will be in there. We'll also be adding the PDF. If you want to go to my face, Dana, we'll be adding the PDF to Camp Colorwork as well. So if you are already part of Camp Colorwork, or you're signing into Camp Colorwork, this will be added to the Mosaic modules, and we'll be doing things in there. So how do we feel so far? I thought maybe I'd show you guys a couple things. And
yeah, because we were having questions about, can you do mosaic knitting in the round? And I thought, oh, can we do mosaic knitting in the round?
Yes, you can. This is a brand new hat pattern, everybody, that will be part of the Stash Busting Quickies that releases on Cyber Monday. Just know you're going to want it. It's amazing. But brand new, this is mosaic in the round knit. Just like Robyn said, you could do mosaic in the round crochet. This is mosaic in the round knit. Both sides look really great.
Oh, Marley, really quick while I'm looking through these, do you ever slip more than one stitch?
You can, yes. So I've done that. I'll just show it. One of the patterns in Camp Colorwork is a pair of gloves. So you can see there are slip stitches that are way more than one in this. So you can absolutely slip more than one. These are like one of the favorite things I've ever made in my life, you guys. And then here's another mosaic hat in the round that I'm in the process of making. This uses a brand new yarn from WeCrochet or Knit Picks as well, which is half price. So I was like, well, I'm gonna make myself a hat. So you can absolutely do mosaic in the round. It's super easy to do, super easy to do. All right. Any other questions that were popping up?
No, I think you've gone through
Perfect.
what I've seen.
All right. So Dana, am I able to do share screen?
Yes, you can, or I can share it, whichever you prefer, but you
It's
have
good.
access.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go into this location first. So everybody, I'm going to put a link, marleybirdhouse.com. You go to marleybirdhouse.com. That's where I am, what I'm getting ready to show you. Okay, guys? So I'm going to share my screen. Give me just a second. So that way I can make sure I'm sharing the right one. And you should see, do all of you see the Marley Birdhouse on screen?
Yep.
This here, it'll say marleybird.vipmembervault.com. That is the location of the Marley Birdhouse. Why is this important, Robyn?
Wise, because this is where we keep all of our online classes, our online classes, patterns, events, you name it, it's all here. It's all in one. It's a one-stop shop for anything that we're doing.
So as you go in and you purchase Camp Colorwork, you actually get access into the Marley Birdhouse. And so I'm going to sign in here if it will let me. So that way you can, is it going to pull this up? So you can see the inside of the Marley Birdhouse. Okay, so I am signed in. So I want you to notice the first thing, I'm going to have way more products in here than what you saw when you were just looking at the main page. That's because we have products that come as limited time stuff that will be housed in your Marley Birdhouse account. So even though they aren't available to the public anymore, they are still in your account. All right. So let's go into view product. This is our Camp Colorwork. This is it, guys. This is the seat at the table. This is going around the campfire. There are 17 modules. What does that mean? Think of this as your filing cabinet. This is a very large filing cabinet. We've just opened up a drawer called Camp Colorwork. Inside that drawer are different folders, and inside those folders are different lessons. So the modules, those are like this is your big folders that you're opening up. We have opened up the drawer to Camp Colorwork. These are our file folders. These are our modules. We open up our modules and there are lessons inside each of the modules. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so the way we broke this all down is there's a lot of information. The whole point of this is not so much is that you would join and do every single swatch, every single project. It's not so much that.
No.
It's more of, I found this really cool color work pattern, but I don't know how to do the technique that it's telling me to do. this is where we step in.
Right.
Right. So
it's totally on your time, your schedule. It's always there for you.
it never goes away.
No.
So it's broken down, essentially, we like to say, into 3 sections each for knitting and for crocheting. So we kind of centered them around big ideas like mosaic that we did today, but there's, as you'll see, a lot more to it than just the little bit we did in knitting and the little bit we did in crochet. There's a lot more to it. Like, that's what I was saying, of all the different things. Then, so like inside you get different lessons. For instance,
So I just opened up the crochet colorwork chart module. So you can see in here,
which
these are all
colorwork charts is like another section.
Yeah.
Do it for knitting and for crocheting and anything that could come to your mind when it comes to that. And lots of different techniques, again, using the same chart and all these different techniques that you could do with it.
And you can see there's charts for everything. There's charts, there's videos right here. This is where you would download your worksheet. This is the final thoughts of everything coming together. But then we put in here extra content. Now, why would we put in there extra content?
Well, here's the whole thing with it is, with this course comes 6 dedicated patterns, one for kind of each section. But what we knew is, while we were teaching all these different techniques, there's going to be patterns that you're going to want for a different technique. So we added more content. There's just a lot more content. There's 8 additional PDFs of patterns that you can download. Then, oh boy, I think it's more like 20 or 30 links to other patterns that you can grab. So it's a gigantic amount of content all organized in one place. I like to think of it more as like an encyclopedia, where it's a visual encyclopedia. That only sounds funny because that's the name of my book, but it's an interactive way of doing it. So what Marley's showing is like one of the projects that you could do with this, with our class, and that's using split single crochet. And in that pattern, it actually gives you 3 more charts. Like, if you don't like that little flower, there's 3 more charts in there that you could do instead of the hat. But you can see, not only, so then in the lessons, we gave bonus patterns. In the content, in the project here, you can see we give bonus videos too. So everything is organized for what you may want.
We've curated all the information you could possibly need in one place. So you don't have to go searching YouTube or any other place for it. We have everything put together in the collection for you in one place. And these projects, what Robyn's talking about, each of the 3 sections, the strand, the colorwork charts, the mosaic stitches, and then the crazy stitches, each one has their own project that is, it's like, hey, now you've learned this, let's put it into action. So for the stranded colorwork for knitting, it was, let's make a pair of socks. So it's more than just, hey, let's do stranded knitting on a sock. It's literally a lesson for how to make a sock. You have everything you need to make a sock, how to fix mistakes, how to just have a successful sock. Oh yeah. And there's color work thrown in it. When you have the color hat, like she just talked about, she has different charts in there. You could actually take those charts for the colorwork hat for crochet and turn them into knitting, like we just talked about. There are so many different ways to mix and match them all together. Let's take a look specifically at the magical mosaic section, because this is what we were talking about today. There's so much more to mosaic than what we talked about today. This is just the crochet section. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah. So if Marley keeps scrolling down, can we show them what like the worksheet looks like?
Sure. Let me.
because as we were just describing, like you can see that there is a video for every single technique that I'm going to go through or Marley's going to go through. But besides that, as I was saying, that we also have a worksheet for every section when it comes to when we're teaching you something. And you can see as Marley scrolls, it gives you very detailed, all of the information, all the stitch diagrams, any additional notes of like, hey, don't forget. So like these are always nice where you can kind of print them out and have them in any of your, crochet or knitting library. So you have a quick reminder as well of like what happens when you're doing all of these different kind of patterns. It's the same for knitting and for crochet. If we go back, what you'll notice is for this one, for Mosaic, we have a cool cowl, but there's so much more. We were asking, we have 2 other links in there for a blanket and for a sweater in Mosaic that we've done, so that you can see different ways of using the other things that you enjoy, that you like doing.
Yep.
That Mosaic pattern is in the round, and that just uses 1 row at a time.
I will tell you, it's one of my favorite sweaters to make or to wear. The Mosaic for knitting, we talk about knitting stockinette. We talk about knitting garter stitch. We talk about charts, very much similar to what we did today. Garter stitch, stockinette, slip stitch ribbing, which you might not think much about, but it's something very cool and a great way to add that little extra pizzazz to something you might be working on. We also talk about the woven slip stitch waves. These are some of my favorite slip stitch patterns. Those of you who are talking about, can you slip more than one at a time? This is an example of slipping stitches and keeping your yarn in front on the right side. Like we are using the floats as an accent to the piece. So it's like flipping the script, right? It looks really cool in 1 color, like in the hat, or 2 colors, like in the wine cozies. And then obviously there's, this is where you get your bonus material video on how to make those fun stitch markers. They're so easy. It's ridiculous, you guys. But let's look at the 2 pieces. This was actually one of the most popular patterns in the whole collection. A lot of people have made this piece, and it's because it has beautiful mosaic stitches, but then there's negative space in the entire pattern. Do you want to talk about, like, it's gorgeous?
Thank you. So this uses the classic way that we talked about, but of course I have to be extra and add negative space to it. I added more holes. Does it increase the skill level? No, it just does something that you haven't seen before, that hasn't been published, hasn't been done, but we walk you through every step of it. So it's not adding any additional burden on you in any way, shape, or form. It's just something cool to try.
Right. So all of this is available here. When you sign up, this is what you can expect from classes in the Marley Birdhouse for the Mosaic. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to go to the Echo. And the reason they're called Echo is because it's like their sound waves echoing off each other. So these are gloves. So again, not only are you learning slip stitches, you're learning how to make gloves. An entire course in and of itself, take you through everything you need to know to create some magical gloves. So what's really great about all of this, you guys, is we're talking about Camp Colorwork, but when it comes to Camp Colorwork, it's a culmination of a bunch of different items put into one place for knitters and crocheters. You want to read more about everything that's detailed in it and what we are trying to do as far as, making sure that you are excited about your work that you're working on, that you don't lose your mojo. We want to make sure that we're here to help you. So if you go to campcolorwork.com, that's the page I'm on right now. That's where you're going to find all of this information. You're going to see the links the images for all of the courses that we've put together. And there's even detailed FAQs. There's a full list of everything you get inside this course.
Right. So I mean, this is, if you're on the fence, you don't, and you want more information, this is where you want to go, to campcolorwork.com.
Right.
And which is, the link is also in the email when you get your free patterns from our class today.
Right.
And take your time, look through it. We even have testimonials of people who have been in the class with us. You can see how many, like we were saying, how many different ways of formats that we make sure we get you the information. And this is my favorite part.
The money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee.
Yep. Come join us.
Yeah, come join us. You have 7 days. And if you're like, this is not worth it, we don't care. Don't even tell us. Just send us an email and we'll get you your money back. Like,
yep. You got it.
That's how confident that we are that
it's amazing. We have had very, very excited individuals who are part of this. Again, this also is, there's an exclusive Facebook group that you can be a part of. You can see here the total value. If we were to put a value on everything in this course, it's just under $3,000. And that's for the individual courses, the patterns, the videos, the everything collected. We usually sell this course at $47. With the coupon code you guys get in that email that you signed up for, we put the link, we'll put the link again. Dana, can you put the link again just to make sure everybody gets it? It's where you're getting the pattern. You'll see there's a coupon code in there. You're getting it for $29.99. So you do not have to spend full price at all. Come money back guarantee. So, I mean, you've got nothing to lose. And
Marley, when does that coupon expire?
It does not expire. I actually made it so that you didn't expire. And that's because I know maybe you're interested, but the money's not there right now.
Right. It's the holidays. We get it.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you think about this later on, like, oh, wait, I heard about this. Let me think about it. It'll be there for you. It's not going anywhere.
It's all good. So that is Camp Colorwork, everybody. That's why we're here. We wanted to make sure we were out there telling the world, and we want to say thank you so much to Prime and All Free Crochet and All Free Knitting for allowing us to be here. If I'm not wrong, I think this is their first Buy Crafty class where they brought both of us together, which is great. Like, it's so, that's so Marley Bird, it's ridiculous. But it's exciting to have all of you in here as knitters and crocheters, because we all love the craft equally, whether we are making something very quick and simple that we just keep, a coaster on our table, or other stuff. We do enjoy working with yarn and needles. Last thing I thought we would do is just do a little show and tell to wrap it all up, and then see if there are any questions. If there are questions, Dana, if you want to pop in and ask them as we're just doing the show and tell. Is it possible to put Robyn on screen also? I feel like I'm giving direction. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a director.
Please do. It's great.
I think I saw a question about the scarf I'm wearing. This is actually part of the Buy Crafty Champions workshop. That's one of the courses we have available. But this, you want to talk about something intense, you're going to learn a lot. This. And Robyn's sweater, that is the Crochet Along Swan Show. That is a free pattern on my website. Full video content as well, because it was a crochet along we did.
Yep.
All right, so I showed you the hat. I showed you this hat. Let's pull out, I showed you the gloves. These are my favorite things. Like, they're just,
I don't think we saw the last two, the fun and funky.
Oh yeah, I didn't show. So let's do that. So then here's this hat, the fun and funky knit. It's actually called the Tell No One hat. You do helix knitting and slip stitches to make cables. This is super duper fun. And I will give you a spoiler alert. I use this technique for a pair of socks for stash busting quickies. It's really awesome. These are the heartstring socks. This is the Nebula cowl we were talking about. Super pretty. These are the fantastic slippers with a modified Catherine's wheel. Can you guys see that? Like, these are amazing.
It's just a ton of texture, and it's, they're slippers. So they're perfect for any time you need a gift.
Yeah.
So if you haven't made crochet slippers before, again, not only do you learn a cool crochet color work technique, you learn how to make the project too.
Yeah, it's super fun. Super fun. Coupon code and the patterns are all available when you sign up on that landing page. Let's see here. I did pull out this pattern. This is a pattern that
All right.
we put out. This is how many pages are in this pattern? Is it 36?
It's over 30. Yeah.
It's huge. This is a blanket. It's a mosaic blanket. I'm going to hold it up.
A mosaic crochet blanket, and every section is diagrammed, charted, and written out. Any way you need the content, we gave it to you.
And this is Karen 1 pound yarn.
Yeah.
You can see, I promised them I would show the back of a larger crochet piece, but you can see here, somebody was concerned about those chains really puckering out. They do not. They feel so good.
And if they're puckering on yours, go down one. Just do one instead of two.
Yeah, it's super great. Super great. So this is the Azores blanket, which is available for purchase as well. It's, I mean, huge content. I'm going to show this just because you could do this. This is stranded color work and crochet, but then felted. This is actually the VIP experience for the Marley Bird First Fall. So this is a crochet felted bag using stranded color work. And it just got
also available at the Birdhouse, and the knit version is available at the Birdhouse.
So when you sign up for this course, it's not a course, it's a knit along, a knit along, crochet along. Let me try this one more time. It's a mystery make along happening right now.
Well,
and so when you sign up for the VIP experience, you get both the knit and the crochet pattern.
Right.
But so that's something you can learn to do as well in the Camp Color Work. What do you have? I know you have.
Oh, I have some of the weird stuff. So
okay, go ahead.
We kind of talked about the color work charts, the mosaic. You've seen that. So I and Marley and the knit ones too, we went further. These are all like the one-off things that you don't see. So we have all of these unusual ways of locking in color. And there's a million. So these are all in the fun and funky. This uses, you literally are doing one color at a time and you get all these unusual shapes because you're twisting your chains together. We have all of these interlaced patterns where you're doing 2 fabrics at once. We talk about, I call this segmented crochet, where you're doing, it's basically you're doing 4 rows at once, but you're weaving in and out so you get like a cable or a twist. We have overlay, which looks just, I made one big rectangle, but each one of these is a motif, and then you're weaving in and out another motif. We talk about a lot about doing double-ended Tunisian, but in the round and flat, and the difference between them. They're all just like those slightly unusual techniques that you don't see a lot. Marley went through and showed you, but in the basic color work charts, we talk a lot about split single crochet that looks like it's knit, but it's crochet. It's done in the round, but you can get beautiful look from it. We use the same exact chart to do corner to corner. So it's the same snowflake chart, but in corner to corner. So it's just a ton of doing, and show you how to do the same chart in knitting or in crochet with just regular crochet. It's just, there's so much to it. That's why I go to Camp Color Work and you can see all the little bits.
It's so fun. Well, that's it from us, you guys. We really hope that we see you in Camp Color Work and we can add you to the Campfire chat group on Facebook. It's a lot of fun. Like we said, the coupon code is available along with the 2 patterns. All you need to do is click the link that was provided in the chat. And I'm sure that Dana and Jenny will be sending you a follow-up email at the end, and it will include everything. Yep, they said they would. if you need to know more, just know you can always go to campcolorwork.com. Or if you want to check out what's happening at the Marley Birdhouse, marleybirdhouse.com. And just to give you some insider information, this next weekend, we have Turkey Trot happening, which is an entire mystery make-along that we do all across the American Thanksgiving weekend. It is a load of fun. We have thousands of people who join in. It's a free event. It's a free event. So if you want to join in with that, it's on my website, marleybird.com. Come check that out. And then after that, we have Stash Busting Quickies. That's a collection of patterns that will be released on Cyber Monday with me and Moogly Blog from Tamara from Moogly Blog. And then all month long in December, we have the 24 days of quickies on the Marley Bird website. So you want to check it all out. Lots of stuff happening. Thank you so much, Dana and Jenny, for having us here. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to all of you guys later.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks so much. Keep an eye out for that recording, the email recording tomorrow. And just really quick, be sure to follow Marley and Robyn on their website, their social media. Marley's at Marley Bird on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Robyn's at crochetbyfaye.com, Ravelry, Instagram. You can reach out to us if you have questions about the classes overall in general. That's I'm at dneald@primecp.com. Or you can reach me at events@primecp.com. Check out Camp Colorwork, get your coupon code. We'll send a follow-up email tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Thank you again so much, Marley and Robyn, for leading today's class. It's fantastic. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.